What's up, everyone? John Manson of Sea Red. Back this week as we look ahead to Saturday's game, Liberty and Delaware homecoming for the Flames on the mountain, Saturday, November 1st, taking on Delaware. We're going to dive into that matchup a little bit and break it down, key things to watch for. But before we do, a couple other things I wanted to point out. It's just a very busy time on campus and around Liberty Athletics, as fall sports kind of winding down and the winter sports are ramping up. Going to be a lot of fun events happening on campus specifically over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, it starts with the football game on Saturday, but kind of carries over to next week. I mean, you got the Women's Soccer Conference USA Championship is being hosted by the Flames at Osborne Stadium. That gets underway Sunday. Liberty was the co-regular season champs, got the number 2 seed. We'll play 7 seed Louisiana Tech Sunday, 11 a.m. The semifinals will be Tuesday, and then the championship is Friday afternoon at noon. So hopefully the Flames will get back into the championship game and compete for that conference championship once again, like they've done the last couple of years. Then also field hockey. Field hockey has already clinched the regular season title. Will be the number 1 seed, and they're top 10 nationally, currently ranked number 7 in the country. Having a really good season, nationally as well, like they've been doing in the past. So they're going to host the Big East Field Hockey Championship, which begins next week, Friday, November 7th, in the afternoon, and then the championship would be on Sunday. They still got another week. This is the final weekend of the regular season, so I don't think it's finalized who all the teams will be there and whatnot. And then obviously you got men's and women's basketball beginning. Men's basketball opens up the season Monday night at Liberty Arena against Kentucky Christian, and then hosts the Field of 68 tournament, which should be a really fun and exciting tournament. The guys that run the Field of 68 will be here in town, led by Jeff Goodman. Some household names in the national landscape of college basketball, and I'm sure guys that with that much notoriety and national appeal, I'm not sure they've ever been on campus for Liberty Flames basketball. So it'd be good to show off Liberty Arena and the rest of the facilities and this campus and the people here that make it so special. And so come on out and support the Flames Friday night against College of Charleston. Sunday evening against FAU. Should be 2 very good, entertaining games. Make sure you come out and support the Flames. Also, women's basketball gets underway Tuesday night against Frostburg State, and then also at home Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. against East Carolina. So have those on your radar, and if you're in town or are able to make it out to the game, come on out and support. And also, speaking of women's basketball, Eric Bowman's going to be our women's basketball analyst for the season. Really excited to have him join our squad at Sea Red. He's going to be covering, he's a current Liberty student, going to cover the women's basketball team. Will be at most of the games, certainly at home, and go to the press conferences and all of that, cover the team in depth. We'll have recaps from most every game and some player features and other special stories throughout the season. And so he already put out his season preview earlier this week. You haven't checked that out at SeaRed.com. Be sure to do so. But really excited to have Eric join us. And as we kind of expand our coverage in Liberty Athletics to more than just football and men's basketball, as well as some of the other sports at a lower level, trying to increase that for a few sports, starting with women's basketball this winter. So. A lot of fun activities, exciting games, matchups, tournaments held right on campus at Liberty. So take advantage of them. Come on out and support the Flames and Lady Flames. Anyways, let's get back to the matter at hand. Liberty, Delaware, Saturday afternoon, CBS Sports Network. First ever matchup between the Flames and the Blue Hens. Obviously, Delaware's in its first year in the FBS and first in Conference USA. They found a little bit of success already under head coach Ryan Carty. He's in his 4th year leading the Blue Hens, coming off, the first 2 years, 22 and 23, made it to the FCS playoffs, and enters 2025 coming off back-to-back 9-win campaigns. So this is a team that knows how to win, has won a lot of games, a storied program, won the national championship at the FCS level earlier in the 2000s. They come in this weekend 4-3 overall, 2-2 in conference play. So they're obviously, first year in Conference USA and FBS, are ineligible for a bowl game in the Conference USA championship game. But, I think that, might give a little more fuel to their fire, especially this week as they come into Lynchburg, taking a bus trip down, their only bus trip they'll take in conference play all season. And, these two might develop a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, kind of, in a conference that's spread out so far where you're going to Las Cruces and Miami and all over the rest of the I can't even call it the Southeast, but the half of the country pretty much. It's nice to have some teams that are bus drives away. Jack State, Kennesaw, you can bus there or drive there, and Delaware's in the same bracket as those teams as well too. And I think Delaware's going to be a good member to this conference. They obviously have proven that so far this year. Their two losses are teams that, at the top of the standings or right there near the top of the standings, Western Kentucky and Jack State. And they played last Wednesday night and defeated Middle Tennessee 31-28 to snap their 2-game losing skid. So they come in, Liberty's got, we talked about it a lot, 17 days off. But it's not like they're playing a team that's not rested as well too, because Delaware's got about a week and a half off. So honestly, I'd probably rather be in Delaware's shoes a little bit, where you only had that 10, 11-day break, as opposed to the Flames having 17 days off. That, you worry about rust, especially, in the first quarter or so, first couple of drives, are you clicking like you need to be? I mean, it's a game that should be a close one. Liberty's 3.5-point favorites, so it could go either way. I think the biggest storyline as far as these teams go is Delaware's passing offense and Liberty's pass defense. Delaware leads Conference USA in passing. They rank first in total offense, passing offense, throwing for almost 300 yards a game. They also lead the conference in third down conversion rate, converting about half the time they face third downs. They're also an aggressive offense. They lead the league on fourth down attempts, times that they've gone for it on fourth down throughout the season. So Coach Carty was a quarterback at Delaware. He's now back at his alma mater, leading the Blue Hens, and he was a backup quarterback there when Joe Flacco was there, a couple decades ago. So the quarterback is a gunslinger, Nick Minicucci. He leads Conference USA in total offense and passing yards per game. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards already this season, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's a veteran. He started his career at Delaware. He's in his third season with the Blue Hens. Started 5 games last year, threw for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. He can run the ball. I'm not going to say he's necessarily an explosive runner, but he's capable. He has rushed the ball 63 times this season, only for 139 yards, but he does have 7 touchdowns. So you can't ignore his ability to scramble and to leave the pocket, especially when they get into the red zone. I think they kind of go to those +1 runs a little bit more. So, but, again, back to that passing offense, number 1 in Conference USA, one of the top 15 passing offenses in the country. And Liberty's number 1 in pass defense. I do think that might be a little bit of a mirage. I said this a little bit on our podcast earlier in the week, is like, we don't know how good Liberty's pass defense is. I think we'll learn a lot about them on Saturday. And part of that is because a lot of teams the Flames have played so far have been more run-centric teams. You think about a Jacksonville State and a Bowling Green, coached by former All-Pro running back, Heisman Trophy winner Eddie George. Those teams, were certainly more run heavy, and they found some success running the ball against Liberty. And Liberty's kind of been not very good, to put it lightly, in stopping the run on some occasions, on most occasions throughout the season. There's been a couple of caveats to that, most notably at UTEP. But even New Mexico State, who came into that game a couple weeks ago, last in the country in rushing, found some success on the ground against the Flames. So, I think teams have been ready and willing to and able to run the ball against the Liberty defense, and they've stuck to that and haven't really need to pass it a lot. A lot of the teams have played ahead of Liberty. The Flames trailing basically every game except for UTEP. So that they get those 2-score leads into the second half, and they can just run the clock and try to get across the finish line, and that's what happened a lot in September when Liberty went on that 4-game losing skid. So I think Old Dominion is probably the only other team that's had an as formidable passing offense as this Delaware team has had that Liberty has faced so far this season through the first 7, now going on 8 games. But of course, if you remember that ODU game, rain was the biggest takeaway from that. Just the almost monsoon that happened just ahead of the kickoff, and then it kind of rained off and on throughout the day. So might have slowed down some of the passing attack for both teams, including Old Dominion. But they still passed for nearly 300 yards and finished with 21 points. But if you remember, they had 4 turnovers in the red zone, so struggled a little bit when they got down in the red zone with turnovers. But so it'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how does this Liberty defense, passing defense specifically, hold up, especially with some injuries. I mean, Brylan Green's not expected to play. Safety would miss his 3rd straight game, going down to injury in that ODU game. And then also Joe Carter, linebacker, leader, quarterback of the defense, has led the team in tackles last year and was leading the team in tackles so far this season. Now, Liberty has had, like I said, 17 days to kind of prepare for life after Joe Carter. I think you'll see an Aiden Bond step into that role a lot. You probably rotate some. I mean, Joe Carter almost didn't even come off the field much of this season. And obviously has a green dot in his helmet where he's the guy that's getting all the communications from the sidelines and the coaching staff and helping get the guys lined up in the right spot. So that's a huge loss for Liberty, not just his production on the field, but also his leadership abilities, some of those intangibles, his ability to get the guys lined up and in the right spot. That's what his coaching staff's always ranted and raved about with Joe Carter, is that ability, even more so than his ability to lead the team in tackles in the rest of his play on the field. So will certainly be a test there for Liberty. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. And this game is really, it's an important game for Liberty, right? I mean, we've said that last 6 weeks, really. Obviously, the 2 games in conference play in October, and then even going back to September, we talked about that Bowling Green being a must-win, and then obviously the JMU and ODU games as well. But Liberty's still in this conference race, and the way things are going, Kennesaw and Jack State are currently unbeaten. They picked up wins in the midweek this week, so they go into the weekend unbeaten. And Liberty's obviously got the loss to the Gamecocks, and so need them to lose twice if Liberty's going to get ahead of them. And that Liberty-Kennesaw game, the regular season finale, could loom large if Liberty can get there still with that 1 loss and still be in reach of the conference championship game, and potentially could even if you had 2 losses, but it's probably unlikely. Then also Western Kentucky's got the 1 loss, who Liberty doesn't face in the regular season. So those are the teams that Liberty's kind of fighting with for those top 2 spots in Conference USA. And Delaware's going to be looking to come in here and have a statement win against the team that won this league 2 years ago and made it to the Fiesta Bowl, and the team that's well resourced. Go back and look at their press conference with Coach Carty this week. They were asked a lot about that, just the resources that Liberty has compared to Delaware and others in the league and at the G5 level. So they're definitely going to be amping their guys up, trying to pick up a huge win, a statement win for them in their first year at the FBS level and first year in Conference USA. So for Liberty, you got to protect your home field, right? If you want to get to continue the season on, right, and still get back to a bowl game, and get to a conference championship game, or go into the last week or two of the season still in play for conference USA championship game appearance. You got to win at home. You got to win at home against a first-year FBS program, and even though this isn't your typical first-year FBS program, Delaware's obviously a willing, a ready-made Conference USA member. It's going to be a tough contest, but Liberty got to take advantage of it. And you're playing at home. You've had time off to get rested, to do a self-scout. I want to see this team come out firing on all cylinders. Let's put together a full four-quarter game, where you're not shooting yourself in the foot and hurting yourself, but you can get the lead early and lead throughout and put the game away as you get into the fourth quarter. And that's not something Liberty's been able to do. There's been flashes of it. I mean, the first half against UTEP was a really strong half. And that was coming off a 10-day break. So maybe coming off a 17-day break, Liberty had a really strong first half again. But in the second half against the Miners, we kind of let them hang around a little bit. And the offense was unable to get touchdowns. They had to keep settling for field goals. So hopefully that changes. The red zone has obviously been a weakness for the offense so far this season, as has third and longs. But you got to win first and second downs, as you hear coaches say. But so I'm looking forward to seeing what type of Liberty team we see Saturday, coming off these 2.5 weeks, and let's have a strong end to the season and a strong performance on Saturday afternoon. And I also want to touch on Manny Rojas. We kind of talked about it a little bit on the website in our notebook this week, and posted it on social media a little bit as well too. But when I was a student at Liberty, Rojas was there as well too. He was one of the first football players I got to meet and to know a little bit. Just his being in class and at school at Liberty, same time I was there, kind of watched him a little bit from a distance. He was one of the leaders of the team, leader of the defense, led the team in tackles his senior year, had over 100 tackles. And he immediately joined the coaching staff, first as a strength and conditioning coach once he graduated, and then was an assistant coach on the field under head coach Danny Rocco. And then he kind of followed Rocco around a little bit, went with him to Richmond, where he was a linebackers coach, and then went up to Delaware, where he was coaching as an assistant there too. Went away for a year or two and came back as a defensive coordinator. I believe it was in 2020. So it's been a position he's held for the last several years, defensive coordinator at Delaware. And, he's certainly going to come in here hoping to get a win against his alma mater. And, some of his players were talking about it earlier in the week. So they've talked about it. They know about it. Good for Manny. Good to see him have some success. Hopefully he doesn't have too much success on Saturday, but wish him well. And it's kind of cool to see, kind of my personal Liberty fanhood kind of comes full circle with the first player, or one of the first players that I got to know now returning as an opponent and as a defensive coordinator. It's kind of cool to see. But like I said, big game for the Flames. Let's see. Hopefully, we'll see a full performance, full 4-quarter performance from this team in all phases: offense, defense, and special teams. We've seen glimpses from the offense at times. We've seen glimpses from the defense at times. The last two games, it was really the special teams that led the way. But let's see if all three phases can put it together, like I said, for a full 4 quarters and pick up this win. Won't be easy. Delaware is a good team. They're a big test. But if you want to get back to the Conference USA Championship, and again, let's not be honest, or let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves. Like Liberty, I said this before this week too, is like Liberty's resource to be not just the top of Conference USA, but one of the top in all of the group of 5. So, you got to take care of business at home. You got to take care of business at home against conference opponents. It's something Liberty's been able to do under Coach Chadwell since moving to Conference USA. So we'll see. Hopefully, be a great crowd out there Saturday. Look forward to seeing you guys there. It's been a while since we've had some football. We haven't had a Saturday football game since the 3rd week of September a JMU game. So it's been a long time. So we got this week and next week, and let's go ahead and get this win Saturday. Go Flames!